having me, Natasha. I really appreciate it. I was looking forward to it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
So, welcome to Shaun Rampersad.
I think that the development of MSMEs in our country is a fundamental core of how we compete going forward and the quality of life that we live. A lot of people get confused and they focus on like the large companies, the multinationals, and so on. But the MSMEs employ a significant part of our population, and a lot of the innovation in the country comes from the MSMEs. So we really have to develop the right ecosystem and the right environment to support our MSMEs. And a lot of times, I think MSMEs in the country, they do good not because of the infrastructure that exists, but in spite of the infrastructure that does not exist. So I think for those of us who've done well and been able to grow our businesses from an MSME to a larger business, we have an obligation to grow more MSMEs, and because they also become our customers as well. It's not just a good thing to do; it's an economically very good thing to do as well.
All right, so as we kick off, we want to talk about your journey, Shaun. How did
Right?
you become, and you'll tell us who you are? Is it everything you dreamed of? Why or why not?
I can start with everything I dream of. Tell it's been so much of that and so much more. I've been extremely fortunate and very very lucky to have to be able to work with some really really great people. But I grew up in Cunupia. My dad is started this business in 1985. I always tell people we chose the utter worst time in history to start a business. Trinidad was just going through a very deep recession around that time. But grew up in the business. I grew up in Cunupia. I still live in Cunupia. I joined the business in 2003. Went to presentation college in Chaguanas, best school ever. Then went on to UWI to do a degree in industrial engineering and joined the business in 2003. And back then, the business was a small business. My dad and maybe about 10 other people. But my dad is like customer obsessed. He really understands that to grow his business, that you need to take care of your customers. So maybe he wasn't employing the best ISO management systems, or he didn't have a formal system, but he knew what he was doing and he knew how to build a business. When I came in, we were a very small brokerage business back then. Started to grow the business, expanded into international logistics. I spent some time traveling. Different people came on. Today we're about 700 people across Trinidad, Guyana, Suriname, Miami, Houston, Mexico, and Bogota. Maybe one more office in one more country in Latin America this year, and maybe one or two more next year.
All right, awesome. Tell us a little bit about Rams Logistics. Tell us a little bit about what happens in that world, in that space.
Yeah, so Ramps is an integrated logistics company, which means that we are moving people and equipment from all over the world to different projects in different countries. They say that logistics is being able to have the right people and resources in the right place at the right time to get the job done. And the job could be a manufacturing company, it could be a drilling rig, it could be a distribution center that needs inventory. And our job is to make sure the right people and the right equipment and the right materials are in the right place so that our customers can continue to execute their business. Our client profile is very, very diverse. Of course, we work for very large companies, and that's what a lot of people know about. But we also work for a number of small and medium-sized businesses. People who are bringing in, small components, small manufacturing components. A guy might start off an online store and he wants to bring a few things out of Miami. We have a very, very diverse client portfolio in Trinidad. So what we've always aimed to grow a world-class business. And I always tell people that you have to define that world-class doesn't mean best in Trinidad or best in the Caribbean. The logistics business is really an international business. We're competing with the top companies in the world. So if you want to compete with those companies, then you yourself have to be able to compete at a global level. So we've always made the investment, and our whole business is built on a tripod. I always tell people that it's always about people, process, and technology. And whenever we have an investment question or any kind of big decision to make, we always go back to the tripod. And we always say it's a tripod, but not each leg is equal. People always come first. And then after people comes processes. And then after processes come technology. Good people could help you make up for bad processes. But good processes can never help you make up for bad people. And good people can make up for bad processes and bad technology. Good technology cannot make up for anything. right? So it's always people, process, and technology. You focus first on building out the right organization with the right people. A lot of small businesses, their biggest challenge is always scaling up. The business starts with an owner, and the owner understands every part of the business. It reminds me of my dad. My dad would market customers, he would execute the business, he would invoice them, he would deposit the checks, he will do cash flow reconciliation, every single thing. How do we say, captain, cook, and bottle washer? I think that's the statement, right? But then as the business grows, people have that challenge about compartmentalizing, segmenting, and so on. And what you've got to do is that you've got to always find the right people to help you grow your business. I always say that when we went to Guyana, we didn't probably have the best business processes, but we had some awesome people, and they would work 15, 16 hours a day, and they would get things done even as we were building all the right processes. Good people can compensate for a short period of time for bad processes, right? So when you start delving into the details of all of those things, and you identify the processes, and you identify what is the right technology that can allow you to become more efficient, it really helps you to scale your business sustainably.
I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into your contribution. How have you and or your organization contributed to the development of the economy and society?
So one of the biggest things that I think Rams is doing is showing that a small Caribbean company can go out here, look and expand your customer base, and by doing that, you are able to compete as a Caribbean company. And we are so extremely proud of our Caribbean roots and who we are as Caribbean people, But when people think about the Caribbean, they think about sun, sea, and stand. They don't necessarily think about, world-class logistics companies. And that's what we are trying to do. I want, just like when I was 15 years old, trying to look to build a company, sometimes when you see people who look like you, song like you, and think like you, and they do it, you feel like, shit, man, I could do it too, right? And that's what we hope more than anything else. And I suspect a lot of people who look at me, they run their own businesses, and they want to know what they have to do to build and grow their businesses. And to me, I feel like the biggest contribution that we can make is that we inspire people to build their own businesses. We show them that Caribbean businesses can become world-class businesses, and we could do it in a really cool way. And when I say that, I hope you follow us on social media. But one of the things that we are really proud of with our culture is, our employee engagement, our community engagement. You talk to anybody who works at Rams, they talk about the events we have. Right now, we are doing a food bank. It started last week, Saturday, and every Saturday we are feeding 500 families in our communities across the country. But here's the big difference. We engage our technology team. They put some stuff out onto social media. People are registering for the packages. They get a confirmation number. They get a location to go to. We partnered with Tribe. We partnered with Sunny Bling, and we partnered with because we want to have a distribution center in South, in Central, and in Port of Spain, so that we can reach the neediest cases. And again, that's where we use our logistics expertise and our background to incorporate into the work that we do with the community. So people will show up on Saturday, they will collect their packages. We've been able to take something that costs you $250 retail in the grocery, and it costs us $100 to put it together because of the contributions we got from farmers and from our customers who manufacture and so on. And a lot of our other customers would have come on board and said, okay, fine. If I give you $100 instead of feeding one family, that now feeds two families. So people are very, okay, good, let's do it. And by the end of the lockdown, which I think is 4th of July, if it continues as this, we would have fed more than 2,000 families. And on top of that, what we are doing is that we have created a SOP that I actually just reviewed this morning. And that will now be shared free of charge to other companies and to other community-based organizations on how to go about setting up your food bank. So hopefully it wouldn't just be Rams doing a food bank in Trinidad. Maybe there'll be a few other community-based organizations who will take our lessons learned and the document that we created, and they would set up their own food banks in their community. It's all about the multiplier effect. When you do good and you find a way to help the other people around you do well, then you will do even better. And that's the key to going forward.
What significant changes have you observed over the past 2 to 3 years, and what's your outlook for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so if anybody talks about changes, especially with COVID, you got to talk about technology. The fact that we are doing this interview remotely, the fact that digital technology will play an ever increasing role in business operations. And some people are afraid of that, and some people are not. Again, I see when I go back to competing on size, what one of the biggest things that Trinidad has for it is that we are English speaking and that we sit in the same time zone with the most affluent population of people in the world, which is the eastern seaboard of the United States. And you can even come Canada from Montreal, coming down all the way down to Miami, right? A few million people who have amazing purchasing power. Digital technologies now allow us to develop businesses today that could sell directly to those consumers in the US and Canada, versus in the past when we were a plantation type economy where we would produce primary commodities and ship it to middlemen, and most of the value would remain outside of the Caribbean, versus our producers and our people in the Caribbean receiving that value. So I think that COVID-19 has significantly accelerated that change. And on our side, this year our theme, every year we select a theme, and it's DDOD, and it stands for digitize, diversify, or die. The digitize part is self-explanatory. The diversify part is because about 60% of our revenue comes from oil and gas, and we know that there's going to be a limited time frame by which that continues. And die is because everybody talks about diversification, but they don't actually do it. It almost takes like something, like you're going to die before they actually get it done. So we've dedicated a lot of our senior and top resources towards diversification, and we are hell-bent on developing businesses that can use Caribbean people and Caribbean resources to sell directly into that eastern seaboard of the United States. And digital technology will allow us to do that in a much faster, much more efficient way than it was 3 years ago. What is my outlook for the next 12 months? Very, very optimistic. I'm very, very optimistic. There's a saying that goes that the reason why businesses die is because during good times, people think that bad times are never going to come. So they don't plan for the bad times. And the other reason why people die is because in bad times, people don't realize that the good times are going to come, right? And life is a cycle. None of us are exempt from that. A lot of Trinidadian businesses are in the trough of the bad times. But you have to either make a decision and say, am I going to continue investing in my business and become more efficient and prepare my business for the good times that are going to come? Or am I just going to die? So we are bringing on the right people, continuing to invest in the right infrastructure, the right processes, and the right technology. And when things turn around, as they are, oil is $70 a barrel this morning as I speak to you, things are going to go well. But just people, if one thing I could ask people in Trinidad, especially, is to remember that businesses die because during the bad times, they don't realize that the good times are going to come. But the good times are going to come. And by the way, if you ever chat with my father, who's been through the booms and the busts from the 80s coming all the way down, I mean, these things don't even bother him. It's a good, bad. It's just a matter of perspective, Yes.
All right, your hurdles. Let's hear about your resilience. I mean, I'm sure you very much are, but take us a little bit into one of your most challenging experiences and how were you able to manage or overcome?
Yeah, so I think our biggest challenge has always been allowing the infrastructure in the business to keep up with the expansion ambition. So every year we want to grow our business 25, 30, 40%, but you have to grow your business sustainably. But we are not the kind of people who ever say no to anything. So if there's an opportunity in front of us, we say yes, and then we find a way to make it happen. And now that sounds really great, but as I tell people, sometimes when you grow in a business like that, you almost feel like every day you go to work or every Monday, you wonder if you're going to have a heart attack because there's so much going on, but there's so much that's not going right. But that's one of the things that small entrepreneurs always go through when you're trying to scale your business up. Your infrastructure doesn't keep up with your expansion plans, and that causes a lot of issues in the business. And we went through that for a long time. There's still certain aspects of it that we are going through. But what I tell people, so maybe my hardest years were when we were growing the business from maybe like 150 people to like 200 people. Those were tough times because it was you were literally working 16, 17 hours a day. It was crazy, right? Because you got to keep up so many things you got to do on your own. But then as you do make a little bit of money, and you take that money and instead of doing frivolous things because you keep investing it back in your business, and you keep investing it by hiring the right people, spending the right money on marketing, spending the right money on technology, things get better. So to go from 200 people to 400 people is sometimes a lot easier than going from 150 to 200. But scaling up the business has been a significant challenge. And the way we've done that, the way we've approached that, and the way we've gotten around that is to really focus on our quality management systems, the depth of our management systems. A very simple thing like SOPs. If you are running a business today, you want 3 or 4 people, and you're not taking the time to write detailed SOPs, then when you try to get to 10 people and 20 people, you realize things are going to become a nightmare. So really take the time to invest in the quality management systems in your business. And when you get your quality management systems right, look at the technology that's appropriate to you to make your business more efficient by automating processes. So I would say people again, get the right processes right, and then find the right technology to automate those processes. Yeah.
All right. So I know you've dropped a ton of advice for us. So as we close this segment, if you were to pick one friendly advice for persons getting into business/leadership, what would that be?
I'll tell you what my father always tells me. All Indian people have a word called jur, right? And jur, it translates to a deep strength deep inside your belly, like real grit, but grit by like on steroids, right? He says, don't get into business if you don't have that. He says, because, and again, there are going to be good times and there are going to be bad times. And you have to get through the good times to get to see you have to get through the bad times to get to the good times, right? But the only way you get through the bad times is if you have that deep strength and that conviction and that you're able to get through it. And the other thing I'll tell entrepreneurs, is that building a business is a mentally taxing thing. I think everybody sees from the outside the success, but they don't see what you go through. And a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the Caribbean, we think that we have to deal with things on our own, right? And the stress that we deal with and everything else, that nobody else understands it, and that that's something that you have to get through. I would say to you that every entrepreneur needs to have a support system around them, because just as day follows night, you're going to have good times and you're going to have some deeply, deeply, deeply troubling times when you ask yourself questions like, why the hell am I doing this? Is it worth it? Am I good enough to do this? And the answer to that every single time is that you are good enough to do it, and it is worth it, but you have to go back into your deep inside of your belly and find that strength to get through those times. And if you have a network and a support system around you, whether that is close friends, family, professional advisors, counselors, people who you could talk to, it's extremely important that entrepreneurs support each other, that entrepreneurs look out for each other, and share stories with each other, right? Because somebody might look at Rams and be like, oh man, great, but there's so many difficult times when we weren't sure that we would have a business the next week. There were so many times when we thought, man, do I have enough money in the bank to meet payroll? And you have to get through those times to get to the really good times.
Phenomenal. Thanks for sharing. So are you ready for the other side of C-Suite?
Sure, shoot.
There is a theme song and rules for this side of the corner as we kick off.
All right.
Talking about your favorite things, a few of my favorite things. Singing. So hit it. These are a few of
my favorite things. That's all I know. Sorry. Yeah. I'm a terrible singer.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My favorite thing is really family. I really enjoy spending time with my family. I love all kinds of food. My wife is an amazing cook. We have amazing dinners every night. I love a roast chicken. My parents are absolutely amazing cooks. My brother Rudy does the meanest curry you'll ever get. I'm that curry for life kind of guy. I love everything about my country and the Caribbean. I really enjoy the Caribbean, and I've been blessed to spend a lot of time in different countries. I enjoy just traveling generally. I enjoy Barbados. I love Tobago. I enjoy spending time in Guyana. The food in Suriname is amazing. I enjoy spending time in Miami. We have an office over there. Houston is okay as well, but yeah. I've traveled throughout South America. People always think about going to Europe and so on. South America is one quarter the price, and in my mind, a lot better. The old architecture in a lot of the places in Chile and Peru and Colombia and so on is amazing. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I love all that stuff.
What about song?
I love, of course, I'm a carnival guy. I love carnival. I love soca music, and I'm really enjoying this whole wave of new soca artists. Yeah, actually, I describe to people my favorite time of the year. Like for me, I look forward to after summer holidays. Sorry, July, August holidays. I look forward to Diwali because Diwali is huge in my family, right? Massive celebration. And then from Diwali, we go straight to Christmas, which is huge in everybody's calendar. And then right after Christmas, we go into Carnival. So for me, from Diwali to Carnival, it's just like crazy. Love that period of time. And then from Carnival, I take a little bit of rest, and then I wait for Diwali again, and then Christmas again, and then Carnival again. So maybe that's the cycle. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it.
Okay, okay. What about book?
I read a lot. So these days I'm on Kindle. Um, I read just about every single author. I used to start off with Dale Carnegie books. My dad introduced me to those. I've read, I mean, all of the books, good to great, and just a huge amount of leadership. I do a lot of reading, a lot of reading.
All right. So let's talk about your clumsiest moment.
Clumsiest moments. Let me see. Generally a clumsy guy. I'm sure if you ask my wife this, she'll tell you a whole lot of things. I mean, don't give me a white shirt and curry. Those two things almost never go hand in hand. Yesterday I was eating a doubles at the office. The staff made doubles in house, and I stopped by the office. And as sure as the day follows night, I'm pretty sure that China falls on my shirt. So yeah, I'm not very good with food and white shirts. Yeah.
Okay, we'll bear that in mind. All right, your pet peeves. What ticks you off?
It's a good one. I was talking about it. I think a deadly combination is when people don't have the required skill set, and they don't know that, but they think they're very good at what they do. And to me, that comes with a lack of humility. So I would say to you that for me, humility is always knowing that no matter what you know, there's always a better way to do things. And I feel like in the Caribbean, politicians especially, on both sides of the aisle, if people kind of just be like, this is what we did, but I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Who do we need to work with to find a better way to do it? Like we would do things so much better. We'd have so much better quality of life in the Caribbean. But I think like a lot of people in leadership positions, they're more focused on being like, this is what I did, and you should be so thankful that I did it. But I think that, and I always go back to say that 2 years or 3 years ago, I was at the energy conference, and Claire Fitzpatrick, who's the CEO of BPTT, the moderator asked her, what's the single most important characteristic of a leader? And she said humility. And I was so shocked with that, because I always think people think strength and intelligence, and she said humility. And then she explained it, humility is listening, is understanding that no matter how smart you think you are, there's always a better way to do it. And if you listen to people and you work with people, as my father says it again, Indian people they have a word called abhiman, which means false pride, right? And so many people, they have that abhiman in them that they can't say, well, maybe I did it and I did a good job, but I'm sure there's a better way to do things. And if you have a taste and a desire to do things better all the time, you always become better as a leader, as a professional, as a mother, as a father, as a brother, as a sister. The key to life is knowing that we could always be better.
Yeah. All right, let's see about your hobbies, your playtime.
Yeah, I enjoy traveling. I'm a big sports fan. I used to play a lot of cricket. Not so much anymore. I do a lot of fishing and sailing with the family. nowadays. We spend a lot of time on the water. So yeah, that's it. I spend most of my time on the water. Um, I enjoy fishing, enjoy anything to do with the ocean and boating. And yeah, and I do a lot of reading. I really do enjoy reading as well.
All right.
Sure.
Sean, would you believe we've come to the end of our time together?
Wow, look at that. It's been a
Look
pleasure.
at
Thank you
that.
so much.
And we have just one more pit stop before we wrap up.
All right.
And this one, gonna ask you to make a wish.
My sincere and fervent wish for the Caribbean region, which is such a beautiful place with smart and great people, is that the leadership in the region, that we get leaders who take us to the next level. When I look at other places in the world, when I look at Singapore, when I see what's going on in some places in Latin America and so on, where I think there's so much less resources that we have, but we just haven't been able to come together as a people under the right leaders to take us forward. And I mean that sincerely. If I look back at the last 30 years of development in our country, in Trinidad, if I look at what's happening in other places in the Caribbean, you know, we need leaders to help us to get to the next level. And it's one thing to tell us, the people, that we have to do better, but I just wish that we as a people get really, really good leaders who could help us to take our country and our region to the next level.
I really want to say thank you on behalf of the Key Business community for the time that you shared with us this morning. I mean, I have enjoyed this journey. I've enjoyed this little time with you. So, as we say all the time, see you around the corner.